All right, guys, it's been a minute since I've had a video. Been busy with a lot of things, but this was one of them. Trying to do the deal on this, and it finally came through, and I got it delivered today to my parents' house up here in North Carolina, and we're gonna get it unloaded. And it is a Kubota U55-4, and we're gonna get it off the truck, and I'll go over everything with you guys on this, and we'll take a look at it and check it out. All right, got it loaded off the truck, and here she is. This is a, you guys are not gonna believe this. This is a 2014 Kubota U55. And let me show you something right here. I'll turn the key on. 1,084 hours, 1,084.2 on a 6-year-old machine. It does not look 6 years old. It looks like 2 years old. It's been very well kept, very well maintained. I think it was a trade-in at about 800 hours, and then the company had it in their rental fleet for up until I bought it. Just doing little things here and there, renting it out to some of their customers. And so this machine came from Marshall Machinery in Pennsylvania. Thanks to Dean, the sales guy there, for all his hard work on this and helping me put this together. I originally called about this machine in May, and I think it had about 950 hours on it or something like that. And Kelly and I decided not to pull the trigger on it and just wait and see what came up with some work projects and stuff. And then a couple of weeks ago, we decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on a machine, and I texted Dean and I was like, hey man, is this U55 still available? And he said yep, and it had a few more hours on it, but they had put brand new tracks on it. So we worked out a really fair price on it, and they gave me a really good deal shipping it to me, so I did not have to drive all the way up to Honesdale, Pennsylvania, which is almost up into New York, on the very far east side of Pennsylvania, way up there. Even further north than New York City up there. So they brought it to me on a flatbed, and I just got here, and I am super happy with it. Just kind of ran it from the driveway down and just did the controls on it. Everything works great. It's really quick. It's very quiet. I turned the throttle all the way up on it. It's a very quiet machine. 4-way blade, thumb, 30-inch bucket. I think it's a 30-inch bucket. I wanted a 24, but they didn't have a 24 in stock. All they had was an 18 and this, so I went with this, and it'll do for now. I'm fine with that. So how I came to getting a Kubota, I really wanted a Takeuchi. I like Takeuchi mainly because it came down to either Kubota or Takeuchi, and I really wanted a Takeuchi mainly because the auxiliaries for running attachments, the auxiliary pump on the Takeuchi runs like 27 gallons a minute. This one runs 20. So I really like that. It has, in its class, it has one of the highest auxiliary outputs for running attachments. I really like that. And the other thing it had is this right here, is the Cats, the Kubotas, and the Takeuchis come, pretty much all the newer machines come with this extra auxiliary right here for running attachments, so you don't have to unhook your thumb. This is something that really steered me away from getting a 50 or a 60 John Deere. John Deere doesn't have this. Their auxiliary connect for the thumb is up here via quick connect. So if I wanted to put something like this, like an extra auxiliary, I would have had to take this to a hydraulic shop, and they would have had to do a whole bunch of stuff, fabrication, to hook up one of these valves and do all that, and that was just a whole bunch of unnecessary expense. So the other reason why is my old 35D, my John Deere 35D had a 4-way blade. When I first bought the machine, I was like, that's kind of cool, whatever, I'll probably never use it. That right there is an awesome feature on a mini excavator. I use that thing all the time. I loved it. If you're in the market for getting a mini excavator, I would definitely highly suggest you get one with a 4-way blade. You think you may not need it, but I use that thing all the time. It's been so handy. So a lot of the Kubotas come with a 4-way blade. I think they were like the first company to ever do that kind of deal right there, and a lot of the Kubotas, more so than not. So that was the other reason. Finding a Takeuchi with that 4-way blade was tough. Not a lot of them. That's more of a newer feature on the Takeuchis. The other thing that steered me away from Takeuchi was basically my budget. I found a Takeuchi that had everything I wanted: enclosed cab, 4-way blade, all of that stuff, thumb, and it was a newer machine, but it had 2,600 hours on it, and they wanted 10,000 more over this machine, and that just wasn't going to work. So that was the other reason I went with Kubota, is because on the resale on these, they're much more reasonable on the resale value. I've noticed that Kubota on the resales don't seem to have that extra price attached to them like some of the bigger names like Takeuchi, Cat, Deere, stuff like that. So that was the other reason I went with this particular machine, because it was in my budget. I really looked hard at the 040s. I really like those machines for a 4-ton. That thing's a beast of a machine. I actually went down to the Kubota dealership and looked at one new months back in the early spring. But I eventually settled on this because this has 47 horsepower, 20 gallons a minute, and I wanted something that could eventually run a mulcher attachment off the end of this. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this. I didn't want to buy an 040 and then have to upgrade again to get something a little bigger that had the horsepower and the flow to run a mulcher attachment. So I am going to be getting a brush cutter attachment for this soon. That's going to be the first step, and then later on down the road, hopefully we're going to get a mulcher head too. But that's down the road. But I wanted to go and have the machine that would be able to do that. So that's kind of where we're at with this. I know there's like Cotton Top 3. I know a lot of you guys probably watch him. He has the 57-4. This, just to kind of give you a comparison, this is a very similar machine to the 57-4, obviously a little bit older than his, but these machines, they have the same engine and they have the same hydraulic pump. All of that is pretty much the same. There's only two real big differences is this counterweight back here. The U is not a complete zero turn like you see with the Yanmars, like Let's Dig 18 has, like his 55. That's a true zero turn. So when this thing turns and swivels this way, this counterweight does not come past these tracks. This one does, but it's only like 2 inches. It's very, very, very tight. On the KX 57-4, it comes out like, I think like a 10, 11 inches or something like that. It sticks out a good ways out here. So this one's got it's a little bit more compact, a little bit tighter, and it has a shorter arm. It has a slightly shorter arm right here because it doesn't have that counterweight in the back. But because it does have the shorter arm, it has a little bit more digging force at the stick here. I think the bucket breakout force is the same, but the arm just being a little shorter, with the physics there, having a shorter arm has a little bit more breakout force at the stick. So that's kind of a cool little feature. So each has their own advantages and disadvantages. This one's a little bit more compact, but obviously probably doesn't have the lifting capacity, especially over the side, that the 57 does, and it doesn't quite have the reach. But you're getting something a little more compact, and you're getting a little bit more, little more digging power out of the stick. So let's crank this thing up and move it around, give it a whirl. I can't really dig anything. I'm up here at the front of the house. James will kill me if I dig his grass, so I'll have to wait. But when I get back to the farm and actually do any digging with this, I don't want to track it down the driveway. I think he was kind of worried about it messing up the drive, but we'll get in it and move it around a little bit, and you guys can take a look. So that's it right there. All in all, I'm very happy with this machine. It doesn't, I was a little worried that it might be a hair too big, but now looking at it, I don't think it is at all. Just, you know, for some of the little smaller projects I do in backyards and stuff like that, I don't think it is. It doesn't, as far as the track base and everything on it, as far as the width and the length, it doesn't really seem to be that much bigger than my old 35. It's kind of weird. I mean, it's like, that part of it doesn't seem to be that much bigger, but obviously the boom and the arm and the bucket are all much bigger. But everything else on it seems to be pretty tight, pretty compact. It's the swing motor is much faster than my old John Deere. It's a quick little machine. Does have that annoying little beep 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 sound on it, so I'll have to get that taken care of. Otherwise, half my viewers will complain like hell. No, you guys did for the skid steer for the longest time until I finally got that fixed. So I'll try to give it over to Barry, my mechanic, and get him to turn that off. But yeah, I've already got some projects lined up for this thing. I'm super excited. I got some projects around the farm. I got some other work projects. Super excited. So I'm gonna load this thing up and get it back to the farm early in the morning. I'm gonna stay the night, have dinner with my parents here, and we'll get it back to the farm. And I actually got a project with it. I need to go spread a little topsoil around a trailer, and I don't really want to tear up the guy's grass with the skid steer doing it. So he's got a really nice yard other than around his little camper trailer. And so I think I'm gonna take this thing and just kind of use the bucket and the blade and kind of rake him in some topsoil around, and it'll be a good little first job for this, I think. And that topsoil is kind of hard to grade with that smooth bucket I have. It's real sticky and thick, and it doesn't really work very well with that flat bucket once it kind of blades down. So this, with the teeth on this and that cutter edge on that blade, I think will work a little better. So there it is. I'm super excited. There's gonna be a lot of projects coming up with this thing. You guys are gonna see a lot of footage. Another thing that the dealership did for me, they just did a 1,000-hour service on it. They didn't charge me for that either. So from the time I called them originally till now, it's got new tracks and a 1,000-hour service, you know, minus maybe 150 hours. I'm fine with that. You know, maybe 200. I'm fine with that. So I think that worked out really good. So if you guys are looking for a piece of equipment, Marshall Machinery, there's their stuff. You can give them a call. They really helped me out with this. They did a great job. They sent me a bunch of pictures, and they actually went out there and did a video. They took a video of this working and everything and doing all its functions. And so I was very confident that it was going to work as advertised, and it was in the shape that it was in. So and they had all the service records for it. It's had no issues other than just the normal service stuff on it that it needs. So it hadn't caught on fire or anything like that. So I was very confident that the machine was as advertised after the pictures and the video that they sent me. So again, shout out to Dean, the sales guy up there. He was great, and for working with me on this and everything, and taking all my phone calls and texts and everything, and putting this together. So, and also to Jamie over at First Alliance Bank for doing all this as well. So I appreciate it. So I'm gonna get this thing loaded up, get it back to the farm, and more to come. Hope you guys are having a great week, and I will catch you very soon.